The Mavericks made 2 roster moves over the weekend, so we're going to talk about them here on today's show. Welcome into Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. Jeffrey Cooperstein here. And the Mavericks, who we thought their roster was fully complete, they finally completed their training camp roster by making 2 signings. d-moi Hodge, the guard formerly of the Los Angeles Lakers, and Jamarion Robinson-Earl, the big formerly of the New Orleans Pelicans and Oklahoma City Thunder, were signed to the Mavericks on training camp deals. And we're going to start here with Robinson-Earl, who I think is a pretty interesting player that the Mavericks brought in here. That we'll take a look at this from Mark Stein first, and then we'll get into exactly what Robinson-Earl could bring. But Stein saying, as with the Mavericks' recent signing of Dennis Smith, there does not appear to be roster room for Robinson-Earl, who chose to take Dallas's offer rather than seize upon overseas interest for the chance to try to force his way onto a seemingly full 15-man squad. And that was kind of my takeaway as well, is this Mavericks roster is full, but yet they're bringing in Robinson-Earl, who has legit NBA experience. He's played 4 years in the NBA, and while he may not have found his way onto a 15-man roster during this offseason, he did have legit opportunities to go overseas, make some money, and be a prominent player over there as well. Instead, he chose to take a training camp deal with the Mavericks to see what he can offer them. And maybe, whether it's with the Mavericks or with another team, he can impress somebody enough to where he can latch on to an NBA team this season. In his career, he's played with the Oklahoma City Thunder, where he started from 21 to 23. And then the last 2 seasons, he's played with the New Orleans Pelicans. And last season, he actually played like a really decent amount. He played in 66 games last year and started 9 of those games, where he averaged 6.3 points, 4.8 boards, and shot 34% from 3. And Robinson-Earl, coming out of Villanova, was the 32nd overall pick. So he was a highly thought of prospect coming out of Nova in college, but he didn't really have a position in the league just because he's a little bit more of a tweener. Like, you're not going to call him a true center. I don't think you can say he's a true power forward either. So he's like kind of in the middle of a guy where you consider him as a big man. And look, you need some of those guys on the roster who can play multiple positions and who have that versatility. And Robinson-Earl certainly has that, and he can defend as well because he's pretty athletic. So I'm sort of intrigued by this pickup, I won't lie to you, but at the end of the day, he really doesn't have any chance to make the team. It's just the Mavericks, number 1, get his G League rights. Number 2, if Robinson-Earl can impress, then he can maybe sign on with another team and go that route. Now, he is not eligible for a 2-way contract since he has played 4 years in the NBA. So if you're thinking that, it's not, unfortunately not going to happen there for Jeremiah. But I do like bringing in guys with NBA experience to try to compete for roster spots, even if they have a slim to none chance of actually making the squad. I always think that the more experience, the better. And look, even though he's probably not going to make this squad, considering the Mavericks' big man room is absolutely stacked with the likes of Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, and Daniel Gafford, I don't really know where Robinson-Earl would fit. Dwight Powell obviously is there as your 4th big man. And look, is he better than Dwight Powell? Yes, he is a better basketball player than Dwight Powell. Will he make it over Dwight Powell on the roster? Absolutely not. The Mavericks value Dwight Powell's leadership. They value his off-the-court stuff that he brings to the table. They value him as the longest tenured Maverick since December of 2014. So Powell's value to the Mavericks comes off the court, not in the actual form of points and rebounds and whatever else a big man can bring. Look, if the Mavs are playing Dwight Powell on a night-to-night basis, they're already screwed. So what's the difference between him and Jeremiah Robinson-Earl? I think they value the off-court stuff that Powell brings over what Jeremiah Robinson-Earl could do for them on the court. So that's where I think things stand. If Robinson-Earl blows the Mavericks away and just goes off in training camp and preseason, then maybe we can have a conversation and revisit it. But at the end of the day, I think the Mavs are happy with the roster they have, and they're going to stick with Dwight Powell as that 4th big man. But I want you guys to grade the signing of Jeremiah Robinson-Earl down there in the comment section. A, B, C, D, or F. I honestly give this like a B-. Like, this is not a signing I thought the Mavericks would be making this late in the game, finding someone in the middle of September who has 4 years of NBA experience under his belt. So I like this one from Nico Harrison. Let me know what you guys think, though. A, B, C, D, or F down in the comments. We'll talk about d-moi Hodge signing with the Mavericks here in just a couple of moments. Hodge, formerly of the Los Angeles Lakers. We'll break that down here, but please be sure to hit that subscribe button, because who else is breaking down the signings of Jeremiah Robinson-Earl and d-moi Hodge? No one. We are. Every single move the Mavericks make, we have you covered right here on the channel at youtube.com/MavsTV. Just 1 week away from Mavericks training camp and preseason getting underway. And if anything happens regarding this squad, you know where to find it right here on the channel. So d-moi Hodge, who played the 23-24 season with the Los Angeles Lakers on a two-way deal. He appeared in just 7 games with Los Angeles where he averaged 2 points, and the numbers aren't going to wow you. He was undrafted out of Mizzou, and he's a guard who I guess you could say a little bit like Ryan Nembhard, but maybe a little bit more of a combo guard than Ryan Nembhard is. So I think that's kind of what they're looking at with that final spot is maybe a sort of guard. They're deciding between a guard and a big man for that final two-way spot. And Hodge is eligible for a two-way spot considering he's only played 1 year in the league. So I do think that there is a path for d-moi Hodge to be on this Mavericks roster this season, whether on a two-way contract. And it'll really be between him and Jamarion Sharp for basically the two-way deals, because the Mavs are going to bring in Sharp once again to be the 7'5" big man in the preseason and to be the guy who can rebound and block shots. So they're going to decide who has the better camp between Hodge and Sharp and what they value more on the roster. I think it's going to end up being the big man, but that remains to be seen. Hodge did spend last year in Greece with RSBC, and he played in the EuroLeague as well, so he had some pretty valuable experience over there, probably slightly better than G League experience would have been for him. And he played in 34 games last year and had decent stats for RS over in Europe, 6.7 points, an assist and a half, and a steal and a half per night. I like the steal and a half, so maybe the Mavs could use his activity on the defensive end. The problem with d-moi, not a very good shooter, just not someone who's going to wow you on the offensive end with his shooting numbers, but he's able to get to the rim, and he's able to be a little bit of a more athletic guy. Like, I would compare Hodge to a little bit of a Dennis Smith Jr. type player where he's super athletic, but he's really not going to shoot it. He's not going to, run the team. He's not going to be a true point guard. But is he an athlete that can play defense and that can give you a little burst of energy? I do think he can do that. I really don't expect him at the end of the day to be on this Mavericks team. Like I said, I think it's between Jamarion Sharp and d-moi Hodge for that final two-way contract. You can throw in the likes of Moussa Cisse and Matthew Cleveland, who didn't end up making this Mavs training camp roster. So I think that's kind of where you're standing with d-moi Hodge. We'll see what happens, but it just seems like a G League right signing, in my opinion. Like, I think they're going to stash him down in Frisco with the Legends, and if they really think he's taking off in the first part of the G League season, then maybe they can replace him with either Sharp or whoever they want to with the two-way contract. But at this moment in time, I really don't see him making the roster. We're going to break down the entire Mavericks roster, all 21 names that will be on the training camp squad here in just a moment. But before we do that, go get yourself this Mavericks hat before the season starts. If you want 25% off this hat, you can head to chatsports.com/Mav sale and get this dope washed gray hat with Dallas Mavericks on the front. It has 1980, the year the Mavericks were founded, on there as well. I love these curved bill hats as well, man. They're one of my favorites. I have one at my house right now. Chatsports.com/Mav sale is where you can find that hat. So go do that right now at chatsports.com/Mavericks sale. You can just send me full screen, Lopez. It's no big deal. I know I forgot that. It's all good. So basically, the Mavericks roster is going to look like this. You're going to have the likes of D'Angelo Russell and Dante Exum, Brandon Williams at point guard. You'll have Jaden Hardy at shooting guard. You'll have PJ Washington. You'll have Daniel Gafford. You'll have Anthony Davis. You'll have, who am I forgetting at power forward? You'll have Washington, Davis. Yeah, that's basically it at power forward. And then you'll have Gafford and Lively at center, followed by Dwight Powell. You'll have the likes of Jaden Hardy there on the bench. And look, this team, I think, is going to be super deep, especially with Cooper Flagg on the roster as well. You round it out with Kyrie Irving. Shout out to Nick Lopez. What a producer he is there. You have Max Christie as well, Klay Thompson, Jaden Hardy. You have Caleb Martin. Look, it's easy when you have the roster right in front of you to see who's on there. So there's the 15-man roster right there. These are the guys that are on the Mavericks roster during the preseason. The only people I could see getting cut from this roster potentially Brandon Williams because he does have a low salary guarantee. Right now, his guarantee is at $200K. If he's on the roster at opening night, then it goes to $850,000. And then Dwight Powell in the last year of his $4 million contract. Those are the only two that I could even see the Mavericks considering cutting there in the preseason just because of the lack of ability to cut the other guys on there. Like, you can't cut Jaden Hardy. I guess you could cut Dante Exum, but you're not going to do that considering you moved heaven and earth to bring him back. So the really only pathway for a roster spot is by cutting Dwight Powell or by cutting Brandon Williams. And then you have the two ways plus the camp guys to round out the 21-man roster. Ryan Nembhard and Miles Kelly are signed to two-way contracts, so they'll be with the Mavericks as well. And then you look at Jamarion Sharp, Dennis Smith Jr., d-moi Hodge, and Jeremiah Robinson-Earl as your camp bodies. So that rounds out the 21-man roster. Really no path for Dennis Smith or d-moi Hodge, in my opinion. I think they're going to stick with Brandon Williams because he gives you that offensive spark. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, I think, would have to thoroughly outplay Dwight Powell in training camp in order to get that spot. And then you're deciding between Jamarion Sharp and d-moi Hodge for that final two-way contract, and we'll see what that battle looks like as training camp begins. I want you guys to be the GM for me down in the comment section, though. What is one roster move you'd make before the season starts? Would you give Jamarion Sharp that final two-way deal? Would you cut Dwight Powell and sign Jeremiah Robinson-Earl? Let me know down in the comment section what move you'd make before the season begins. And that will do it for today's show, guys. Appreciate you for tuning in to Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. If the Mavs make a move, you know where to find it right here on the channel. Training camp is just 1 week away. Can't wait to get started with you guys.